Okay, our next project is Wavy Words. Basically what you're going to do is pick out a quote. You need to have just more than just a couple words, but you don't want it to be too awful long because you won't be able to fit it or your words will be too scrunched, that kind of thing. So you need to kind of have an average size. So here I have my quote. I wrote it down, made sure all the spelling was correct, and then now I'm going to do my wavy words. So after you pick out which quote you want to do, or song lyric, or whatever you choose, the concept of these are your vertical lines are always going to be straight up and down, okay? Then your horizontal lines are going to be the wavy ones. And that's what the combination of the two makes it where there's an optical illusion. So when we do our letters, anytime you have a letter, like a T, for instance, it's straight up and down that part, and then the top of the T is whatever that wave is, right? The H, and then say if my bottom here is crazy, my H and my T are going to be that way, okay? And the farther apart, the closer together your waves go, your letters are just going to match into that size, right? So what we need to do first is kind of practice and figure out the concept just on straight lines, right? So what we need to do is make sure that every letter, no matter if it's capital, no matter if it's lowercase, if it is cursive even, right? No matter what, that the tops and the bottoms of the letters touch each line, okay? So on here, your T, if it's lowercase, it's going up and down. If it is capital, what I like to do, if it's touching that line, I like to kind of double it just so you can see it a little bit better and know it's there, right? Just like that. Sometimes it's a little easier to do capital letters, but if you want to do lowercase, right, you're touching every top. And if see how I went over just a little bit, you can go back and edit it and touch it up a little bit here and there. So the top and the bottom of the letter is touching each line, okay? Now, what we do is, that's when we can kind of start in with our curvy lines, right? So here's our curvy lines. If we have an A, it's going to go up and down. If we have a B, right? Remember, you can do capitals or lowercase. It just depends what you want to do. Actually, if you'd like to, you can do a combination of both, right? Mix them up a little bit. And again, if you want to do a cursive, you're doing the same thing, but you're touching the lines, right? And by doing that, what we're doing is you're creating different shapes, right? So when we get to the next step of our project, you're going to be coloring each of these shapes a different color. So anytime that you hit a black line, that's a different shape. So you have one here, this little skinny shape, this is half, right? And then here, right? Pretend you're pouring something in it and it's gonna expand and when it hits that black line, it stops, okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about that once we get to that part of it. So the first steps to do to get your whole quote on your paper is to look at your quote, right? Figure out how many lines you need. Usually it's about 5 or 6 lines, or excuse me, spaces, right? So this would be a line, this would be a line, or space, however you want to say it, right? So here I divided it up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 spaces for words. Also, I have another one here that I did it horizontally, and you're more than welcome to do that as well. And I divided it up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it just depends which way you want. Either one is fine, okay? So let's figure out. Now remember, you're going to have wavy lines, but you still need to kind of have them spaced out pretty close to even, right? So what I like to do, I'm just going to look off the one that I did here where I did 6. So I'm going to say that technically you're not using any measurements really for this project, but I'm going to use my ruler a lot for those straight edges and for it to kind of space it out pretty evenly. Let's see here. So I have 11 inches. Let's see. About 5.5 is the halfway mark. So if I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I could make a halfway curvy line in the middle of the paper, and then now I need to make sure that I do 3 spaces up here and 3 spaces up here. So when you're doing your wavy lines, you want to not make them match. So I wouldn't want to do it like this because that would be the same line. We need them different. You need to do it in a different way. So it kind of almost looks like a wave, right? So instead of going up, I'm going to go down and up, right? Some of them can be more of a smooth wave line. Some can more be bumpy, right? So I'm going to go like this. And if you don't like a line, or if you don't like the shape that it kind of formed here, I'm going to round this guy. Actually, I'm going to go down just a little bit. Just bring him up here to add a little bit more variety. Okay. And also, if you have this top here, you can kind of go off the page or just kind of peek it in and out like that. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3 spaces. Now I need to do another 3 down here. Okay, that's 1. I don't really like that one. So I'm gonna go, a good way to think about this is to kind of try to do your opposites. Like up here is going up. I kind of want to maybe go down instead. Let's see here. And remember, you're drawing all very, very lightly so you can erase it without it showing. Okay. And then I need to get one more spot here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I have this little area that we can color it a certain color once we get our black lines in. Okay, so now I have my lines out here. Now I need to figure out what words are going to go on which line, okay? So when you're talking, you know, you want to kind of like look at your quote and think, what do I want it to stand out, right? And I want the word artistic to stand out. So I want to put that on its own line if I can, okay? And then that way I say, there is nothing. That's going to be a real scrunched up one, but I think I can get that on one line. I think I could get more truly on another line. And so I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to say than 2, love people. Okay, so these are the words that I really want to highlight is artistic, love people. Okay, and then Van Gogh's going to go on his own line down there. So once I kind of figure out how many lines and how many words per line and maybe what do I want to emphasize, then I'm ready to start kind of laying it out. Now this time this part of it will probably take a little while because you're trying to space it out correctly and all that stuff. So with there is nothing, what I want to do is I kind of want to make little marks, and I'm barely making a line just so I can see it myself. And that's about where I want my words to go, okay? And looking at it now, I need to kind of bring this down just a hair so my nothing won't be completely scrunched up there. How about I give it a little bit more room like that, okay? So there is nothing. I think I will go with capital letters at the beginning, right? And then lowercase letters mixed in with maybe some capitals. Again, it doesn't really matter what you decide to do. So I like to keep my ruler, when I'm first doing this, I like to keep my ruler straight up and down as a kind of a visual, right? So there, and use the side of your paper as well as a visual. And then there's my T, right? I'm gonna do a capital H because I like the way they look better because they divide it into more shapes. But if you want to do a lowercase, that's fine as well. But I'm gonna do a capital, okay? And remember, these lines here are straight up and down because these are vertical lines in your letters, okay? And it's okay if yours are a little wobbly because you're gonna go over it with a black marker or a Sharpie, okay? Now with your H, remember that your vertical line, or excuse me, your horizontal lines, your side to side lines, they need to follow your horizontal wavy lines. So with your T, it just follows up top here. But when you're in the middle, what I like to do is I like to get the second line, the bottom line, and make it parallel to that, kind of copy that line. Or you could even take the top line. It just depends which one you want to do, which one you want to choose. Now with your E, remember you can do capital or lowercase. Let's do a lowercase one because I think they turn out kind of funny looking. Okay, so you make your C, but then remember your E has that horizontal. So what I like to do is I like to follow that bottom line. Okay, there. Here's an R. Touch the top. Like that. Okay. Another E. And I don't want it to touch my R really, so I'm gonna make it a little more tucked in like that. Okay, and see how I'm kind of editing as I go. Now I'm going to follow that bottom line, okay, just like that. Now remember, I'm not going to try too hard on these because I haven't even seen if it'll match yet, okay? I mean, not match, but fill in and have enough room. So, you know, don't beat yourself up if you have to scoot it over, or even if you have to put something else on a different line. So here's my I. Remember, straight up and down. Your S, remember you're touching, oops, you're still going up and down, but you're touching the top and bottom. Okay, there is. And then whether you do a capital or lowercase n, right? I'm gonna do a capital. You're gonna do the O. And remember, it's even your O is straight up and down. It's not going to be like this, right? It needs to be straight up and down to create that illusion. Okay, and you know, practice this. This is my rough draft, okay? And then once you're set and you have all your words laid out the way you want them, then that's when you can kind of go off and do it on your final paper, but it won't be so hard because you already did it the first time and you're looking off of your rough draft. It's kind of like a cheat sheet, right? So there's your T. Here's an H. Remember, straight lines. And then I'm going to follow that curve line. I, and see now it's a little scrunched, but I can see if I would like to, I could make my O a little smaller, right? I could kind of sneak it in here and scooch everything over. And that's what's good about doing a rough draft, okay? So now, what I really like about these, it's almost like a fisheye lens, is that you start with your vertical lines, right? I'm gonna do more. And notice how I always have this right beside me, because it's very, very easy to make spelling errors when you're creating art because you're not worried about the spelling, you're worried about what your actual letters look like rather than if it's spelled correctly. So it's always good to have a visual here. So straight up and down, touching top and bottom. Okay. And notice how I'm doing a little bit of both capital and lowercase just to kind of show you different letters. And that one matches my lower line there, right? More truly, up and down, vertical, up and down, make a lowercase, U goes all the way up. So it doesn't matter how wavy my lines are, it's always that, and that's what gives you that elongated, funny, stretched out look. It's always gonna touch the top and the bottom, okay? L. And I like to make my Y's like this, just to kind of get a little curve in there. But remember, you can do kind of like that triangle, right? You could even do it this way if you wanted to, however you want to do it. Okay. So that's what we do there. When you are ready, you can kind of finish it off, right? And like I said, that's probably going to take you the longest, is trying to figure out the words, what fits on what line, and you know, scrunch it over, or you need to scooch it over this way or that way. That's going to take you the longest time. So it is very, very helpful to have a rough draft. When you get to the final draft, what you're going to do is you're going to take a black marker or Sharpie. Make sure you have something underneath it so you won't get it on the table. But then now you're just going to trace all your lines you made. And this is going to be a lot easier because remember I told you not to worry about the wobbliness, or if you messed up here or there, your little scratches here and there. Don't worry about that because you're going to go over it and then you're going to erase all your marks, okay? So again, your ruler can be there to kind of help you keep it nice and straight. Try to make solid motions with your marker. Okay, oh, I forgot first. Let's do our lines. Okay, and what I was saying about the fluid marks, right? Try to keep it all one line, right? Because you don't want to get too scratchy, right? You want to make it all nice one line. Okay, so here's that bottom line, here's the top. Remember, this one kind of goes off the page, comes back down. Let's see, if you make little scratches here, just go ahead and kind of move it along with your line. Okay, move this way. Just like that. Now let's go back to the letters. Remember, straight up and down, okay? Because if they start tilting, it's not going to give you that optical illusion of the stretching of your letters. They're just going to look like they're on that wave. We want to look like the letters themselves are kind of stretching and morphing along with your waves, okay? I like to try to do all my letters up and down first. It seems to help me kind of line them up a little bit better. And see how I'm kind of going off. That R would have been way too close. You can kind of edit as you go as well. Just like that. Okay. Then you're going back with your, you're going to match this line. Right, here's that. It goes up like kind of like a roller coaster and then goes back down. Okay. Oh, and I forgot the T. Don't forget the tops of your T's and I's. Just like that. Okay. Moving on, you're gonna go straight up and down. Okay. Then your S, remember, is straight up and down as well. You could add little curly cues, whichever you like. Don't forget the top of your eyes if you're adding those in. Okay, there's that. Straight up and down. Okay, I'm gonna move my O over a little bit because remember with our G, it got a little scrunched. So I'm gonna try to move it over just a hair. Okay, there's the O. Remember, straight up and down. Use that ruler to help you see that straight edge. Okay. That just didn't scrunch it very well, did I? That's okay. Okay. My G will just have to be scrunched. Now remember, your G, that line right there goes with this one goes with that one, and then don't forget the top of your T up here. Okay, just like that. Okay, moving on down, it's the same situation. Keep it straight up and down. Now, see, there's only two smaller words on this one. I can make these words a little bit bigger than I could there and nothing, right? So I can make this one a little bit more. Okay. So now I'm going to go back, and you could even do, I did pointy, but you could even do rounded off M, okay? It's the same concept as long as you're touching the top and the bottom, right? So our E, don't forget the bottom and the top of your E. E's always, capital E's kind of look cool too. So here's that, and then I'm gonna go with the bottom line again, and it's kind of curved. Okay, so I thought that was pretty neat. Let's do one more word, truly. Okay, remember, keep your ruler there handy to keep an eye on your straight lines because it's really easy to get tilty. Okay, straight up and down, straight up and down. And notice I'm not completely tracing my pencil marks because once I made this mark, it moved over a little bit. So I wanted to create that space, right? You don't necessarily have to follow your trace marks if you kind of want to move it and edit it, right?